You think you are safe because you have money in the bank. You believe that saving is a strategy for survival. Wake up. You are neck deep in a trap. While you are celebrating the numbers on your mobile app, your future is rotting. What you call savings is actually your voluntary surrender. In the world of 2026, the person hoarding paper isn't a wise investor. They are simply food. You are a walking feeding trough for those who actually run this world. We are going to dissect exactly how you are being milked and why your nest egg is a hole through which your life is leaking away. The biological hijack. Why you cling to trash. Your brain is an ancient mechanism. For thousands of years, our ancestors hoarded grain or fat to avoid dying during the winter. This is a primal instinct, and right now, that instinct is working against you. The Matrix has simply replaced real resources with colored pieces of paper and digits on a screen. When you look at your bank account, your brain sends a signal. Everything is okay. We are fed. We have reserves. But this is a lie. Unlike a bag of grain, you cannot eat your dollars or your euros. They have zero internal utility. They have no value except for the value you have been permitted to see. By saving money, you are simply pressing pause on your hunt. You are sitting in a corner, waiting for the future to arrive and take everything from you. You have traded your kinetic energy for a symbolic promise that is designed to be broken. Inflation, the clinical harvesting mechanism. Inflation is not some market error. It is not an accidental rise in prices. It is a hunting mechanism. It is the process by which the predators at the top scan the territory, locate your accumulated energy, and simply evaporate it. You work 10 hours a day, you spend your nerves and your time, and then you put the result of that labor into a leaking bucket. While you sleep, inflation is eating your tomorrow. You are running a marathon where the finish line is being moved back by the organizers while you are still catching your breath. You agreed to work for a fixed reward in a system where those who print the money can create it out of thin air in any quantity they want. This is a mathematical death sentence for your freedom. You are exchanging your real-life force for empty symbols that no one intends to honor. Metabolic energy, the physics of the flow. Your time, your attention, and your labor are your only real currencies. When you convert them into cash and let it sit, you are letting that energy go cold. Money is not the goal, it is a tool. But you have been brainwashed into thinking that having money is the finish line. In reality, you are like a predator that caught its prey and left the meat to rot in the sun. While you are saving, your power is melting. A true predator never hoards paper. He seizes assets. He trades the symbols for concrete, for land, for gold, and for technology. He moves his energy into things that cannot be devalued by a button press at a central bank. While you are hoarding trash, he is hoarding sovereignty. He is building a dam while you are carrying water in a sieve, the trap of safety. You have been terrified by the concept of risk. They told you the stock market is dangerous, business is scary, and real estate is complicated. So you hid in a safe bank. Congratulations. You have chosen the most expensive insurance policy in the world. You are paying for this peace of mind with your entire future. A bank is not a safe. It is a place where your money works for someone else. The Matrix loves safe people. You are easy to find, easy to count, and easy to harvest through negative rates and inflation. You are literally paying the predator to eat you slowly. A sovereign man does not seek safety. He seeks power and control. He would rather head into a storm than rot in a quiet swamp. The extraction matrix. The matrix is not a market. It is a closed-loop system for pumping out your life force. It works simply. You work, you create a surplus, and the system ensures that this surplus constantly flows back to the top through inflation and debt. You are the foundation of this pyramid. Without your deposits, the banks would have no capital to crush you with. You are providing the bullets they use to shoot you. To break out of this loop, you have to throw away everything you were taught. Stop looking at cash as wealth. It is a perishable tool. It is like a battery that loses its charge every single day. If you don't use it to annex real territory, it becomes useless. Stop being the prey. Become the owner. The primal code. Matter over symbols. Your hoarding instinct makes you cling to a stack of bills, even as they turn into toilet paper. You are like a primate holding a stone, thinking it is fruit. The longer you hold it, the more energy you waste. A real player looks at money as fuel. His strength is not in the bank. It is in his skills, his systems, and what he physically owns. He has uncoupled his life from government paper and attached it to reality. He doesn't care about exchange rates because he owns what everyone will always need. Inflation is a tax on the fearful. While you wait for better times, your opportunities are burning. Every day, your strike becomes weaker because your resources are losing their density. The high ground of 2026. The environment of 2026 is a great sifting. The liquid masses are being drained. If you are sitting on a pile of cash, you are target number one. You are the fat hog that the system is ready to butcher. To survive, you must move your energy into the z-axis. You must occupy territories that the machine cannot simulate or debase. This is the sequestration of detail. By specializing and annexing matter, you are creating a vacuum that the inflation predator cannot enter. You are moving from being a component of the economy to being the architect of the territory. The abyss is waiting for the saver, but the substrate is waiting for the sovereign. Stand up, stop saving, start building. The hunt is not a waiting game, it is a target acquisition. Find the coordinate where you can fix your value in matter and put all your metabolic weight on it. Audit your cash leaks and begin the final annexation of your physical kingdom. We must now bisect the mechanics of the debt inversion and the clinical process of transferring your life force from the liquid to the solid. You believe that by avoiding debt and sitting on a pile of cash, you are winning the game of stability. This is a terminal hallucination. In the raw, unyielding arena of the persistence hunt, your savings are not your money. They are a loan you have granted to the hierarchy so they can hunt you with your own resources. Every dollar you leave in a bank is immediately leveraged by the giants to buy the very assets you should have annexed. They take your static energy and turn it into kinetic force to outbid you on land, on gold, and on the future. You are currently providing the fuel for your own liquidation. We are now analyzing how the apex predator utilizes strategic leverage to flip the script, moving from the frequency of the victim to the frequency of the owner. Consider the pathology of the debt-free saver. You were taught that debt is a burden. This is a slave protocol designed to keep the unevolved from ever touching the levers of power. The hierarchy loves the debt-free man because he is static. He is not using the system is using him. While you are grinding to save 10% of your income, the sovereign predator is borrowing 90% of yours at a rate lower than inflation. He is literally being paid to borrow. He takes the trash paper you worked for, converts it into hard matter, and watches as the inflation predator evaporates the value of the debt he owes. He is using the leaking bucket of the currency to build an unassailable fortress of matter. You are the one paying the bill for his empire. You are the source of liquidity that makes his dynasty possible. This is the great inversion. In a world of infinite money printing, the borrower of hard assets is the sovereign, and the saver of fiat currency is the sucker. If you want to survive the resets of 2026, you must stop hoarding and start annexing. You must recognize that the currency is a hot potato. It is a toxic substance that must be moved through your nervous system as fast as possible. You should never hold it. You should only channel it. You take the liquid and you turn it into solid before the vapor point is reached. You move from the variable to the constant. You move from the paper to the substrate. This is not investing. This is biological survival. The architecture of the hunt requires you to build your own autonomous energy vents. Most of you are still trading time for symbols. This is a linear, low-voltage game that ends in exhaustion. The apex predator seeks non-linear yield. He builds systems that function while he sleeps, capturing the attention and the resources of the swarm. For those ready to move from the metabolic waste of the daily grind to the high-voltage sovereignty of the stronghold, the Protocol 260 provides the strictly described route to constructing automated YouTube AI empires that annex digital territory. It is the structured roadmap for the sovereign who intends to use the fluidity of the digital to secure the solidness of the real. You utilize the machine to generate the flow, and you use that flow to buy the stone. By the time the unevolved realize that their savings have become worthless, the sovereign has already sequestered his life force into coordinates that the matrix cannot touch. You must reach a state of informational asymmetry. You must know things about your coordinate that the machines cannot simulate and the banks cannot audit. This is the sequestration of detail. When you own a niche and you own the matter associated with that niche, you have created a sovereign vacuum. The inflation predator cannot enter your territory because your value is not tied to the symbol, it is tied to the requirement. You provide a non-algorithmic specialty that the system cannot survive without. This makes you indispensable. And when you are indispensable, you are the one who dictates the metabolic fee. You stop saving and start extracting. The unevolved are currently in a state of peripheral anxiety. They are scanning the news, checking the inflation reports, and hoping for a policy shift. This is the frequency of the prey. They are waiting for the owner of the system to be kind. The sovereign man has no hope. He has infrastructure. He understands that the reset is not coming. It is already here. The sifting is happening in real time. The liquid is being drained, and only the solid will remain. If you are sitting on cash, you are liquid. You are ready to be poured into the abyss. If you are sitting on matter, on specialized skills, on automated systems, and on physical property, you are solid. You are the grit that breaks the machine. You must perform a clinical audit of your transience. How much of your life is rented? Your house, your car, your software, your attention? If you are a subscriber to your own life, you are a subordinate unit. You are a component of someone else's empire. The apex predator seeks total ownership. He wants the deed to everything he touches. He wants to be the primary source of his own energy. He understands that saving is just a way of leasing your future from the hierarchy. He chooses to own the future instead. He builds biological barriers to entry. He creates private information markets. He turns his specialization into a strategic enclosure. The neurochemistry of the strike requires you to stop asking and start annexing. You must reach a point where no is your default orientation to any proposal that involves saving or waiting. You must stop helping the system and start building your fortress. Every dollar you save is a thermal leak. Every asset you annex is a hormonal fortress that protects your nervous system from the stress of the swarm. You move from the frequency of the supplicant to the frequency of the commander. This is the standard of the apex. It is the realization that status is not an award, it is a seizure. You are not earning a living, you are harvesting a territory. As the systemic resets of 2026 accelerate, the price of paper will become zero. The giants will continue to use the narrative of saving to keep the masses in the low-yield trenches, while they themselves utilize high-precision annexation to manage the architecture. To survive, you must move into the spiky distribution. You must become the niche hunter who operates in the blind spots of the matrix. You must find the coordinate that is too complex for the AI and too real for the bank, and you must own it. You must build your moat, harden your core, and claim your place in the architecture of the immortal. The hunt is not a global search, it is a specific target acquisition. You are the point of the spear, you are the edge of the blade, you are the stillness that defines the storm. Stand up. Stop saving and begin the final hardening of your sovereign will. Consider the entropy of the fairness narrative. You believe that if you play by the rules and save your pennies, the world will reward you. This is slave logic. The rules were written by the predators to ensure that the prey stays visible and predictable. The hierarchy does not value your fairness, it values your utility. If you are a saver, your utility is to be harvested. If you are an owner, your utility is to govern. You must choose your role. You must have the coldness to break the social contract of the swarm and establish your own internal law. You must reach a point where the approval of the unevolved is a signal of your own stagnation. You want their awe and their submission, not their like. The biology of the stronghold is the final settlement. You can argue with the rules of the matrix, but you cannot argue with the gravity of matter. The sovereign man does not wish for a future. He builds a future into the primary matter of the universe. He has reached the 0 point of stability. In this state, his will and the physics of the territory are perfectly aligned. He is the owner of the core. He is the niche hunter who has specialized in the extraction of the yield. He has moved from the time preference of the prey to the eternity of the sovereign. He is the master of the stronghold, and the inflation predator is merely the janitor who cleans up the remains of the unevolved. The neurobiology of the boundary creates a permanent shift in calibration. When you move your life force from liquid cash to solid matter, your brain undergoes a hormonal reset. Your testosterone to cortisol ratio stabilizes because the primary fear, the fear of being liquidated or evicted, has been surgically removed from your nervous system. You stop asking for space and you start directing space. This is the chemical foundation of power. The unevolved can smell the rent on a man. It can sense the lack of a root in his frequency. But the man who stands on his own soil, backed by his own automated systems and his own specialized mastery, radiates the stability of the earth. He is the stable variable in a volatile ecosystem. He is the one who determines the terms, because he is the only one who doesn't need the interaction to survive. He has secured the core, and from that core, he can project asymmetric force into the rest of the world. Recognition of this biological requirement is the only way out of the mud. You must move from the horizontal plane of the hoarder to the vertical axis of the owner. You must stop saving and start building. The hunt is not a waiting game. It is a specific target acquisition based on the physics of force. You must decide what you are. Are you the bucket that is being emptied, or the dam that controls the river? The primal code is not about money, it is about energy sovereignty. Find the point where you can fix your value in matter and put all your metabolic weight on it. Stand up, audit your cash leaks, and begin the final annexation of your physical kingdom. We must now bisect the biology of the annexer and the final movement of matter sequestration. You believe that wealth is a destination, a point on a graph where you can finally stop and enjoy the safety of your reserves. This is a terminal civilizational hallucination. In the raw, unyielding arena of the persistence hunt, wealth is not a store of value. It is a weapon of positioning. An organism that is not actively expanding its territorial volume is an organism that is currently being digested by the hierarchy. The saver is waiting for a reward that will never arrive, while the annexer is busy identifying the coordinates of power and occupying them with total kinetic intent. We are now analyzing the final architecture of the lock, showing you how the apex predator utilizes strategic rigidity to ensure his dynasty remains untouched by the liquidations of 2026. The unevolved are currently trapped in a state of hormonal submission. They have been conditioned by the Matrix to feel guilt for wanting more and anxiety for taking it. This is moral sabotage. The hierarchy utilizes ethics as a cage to prevent the prey from ever challenging the territorial monopolies of the giants. While you are worried about being fair or balanced, the sovereign predator is operating from the frequency of absolute entitlement. He does not negotiate for his life force. He dictates the terms of its use. He understands that in a predatory landscape, there is no middle ground. There is only the owner and the owned. He has performed a clinical amputation of empathy toward the systems that seek to debase him. He views the inflation predator not as a problem, but as a filter that removes his competition. Consider the neurobiology of the boundary. The brain of the sovereign is programmed to perceive matter as a physical extension of his own nervous system. When he annexes an asset, be it a specialized skill, an automated channel, or a physical stronghold, he is increasing his hierarchical mass. He is becoming heavy. He is becoming difficult to move. The saver, by contrast, is weightless. He is a data point that can be deleted with a single algorithmic strike. The annexer understands that matter is the memory of force. By freezing his energy into primary assets, he is creating a legacy drive that the Matrix cannot rewrite. He is building a fortress of time that preserves his internal law long after the paper economy has collapsed into entropy. The architecture of the final lock requires you to achieve strategic inaccessibility. You must move into territories where the rules of the Matrix no longer apply. This is the sequestration of detail. When you are a generalist saver, you are a global commodity. You are competing with 8 billion other average units for the same devaluing symbols. But when you become a niche hunter, you move into the z-axis of complexity. You develop a non-algorithmic specialty that creates a natural monopoly. You become the only answer to a specific environmental requirement. This specialization is your primary moat. It is the reason the hierarchy is forced to pay you in matter rather than paper. They cannot inflate your expertise, and they cannot automate your unique strategic intent. This is where the Protocol 260 becomes the tactical fulcrum of your dynasty. It is the engine that converts digital attention into physical sovereignty. Most people use the internet to consume. The sovereign uses it to annex. He utilizes automated YouTube AI empires to create a constant flow of yield that bypasses the linear labor trap. He uses the machine to harvest the symbols, and then he immediately converts those symbols into the stronghold. He understands that the digital world is fluid, but the physical world is solid. He uses the fluid to buy the solid. By the time the unevolved realize that their savings have become a historical footnote, the sovereign has already locked his territory. He has moved his energy into hard reserves that the inflation predator cannot even see. The entropy of the social mirror is the final leak you must cauterize. The unevolved are obsessed with how they are perceived by the swarm. They want to be liked and respected by people who are currently being liquidated by the system. This is status scavenging. The sovereign man understands that the approval of the swarm is a signal of your own mediocrity. He does not seek respect. He seeks dominance. He wants to be the stable variable that the rest of the environment is forced to account for. He has achieved phase shift dominance by becoming indifferent to the consensus. He operates in the informational silence of his own niche, away from the noise of the gamblers and the savers. He is the sentinel of the core, and his internal law is the only frequency that remains when the social static is silenced. You must reach a state of neural hardening. You must look at your cash reserves with the coldness of a scientist looking at a perishing sample. Every dollar is a dying organism that must be saved by being converted into matter. You must stop saving for a rainy day and start garrisoning for the siege. The rainy day is not a possibility. The siege is the current reality. The sifting of 2026 is a clinical process of removing the unprotected energy from the ecosystem. If your energy is liquid, it will be drained. If your energy is solid, it will remain. You must choose your state. You must move from the frequency of the component to the frequency of the architect. The biology of the strike requires the total annexation of the future. Most of you are hoping for a future that is permissioned by the hierarchy. You want the bank to allow you to retire. You want the government to keep the currency stable. This is strategic suicide. The sovereign man does not wait for permission. He occupies the outcome. He builds the infrastructure of certainty. He understands that sovereignty is the power to wait, because he owns his stronghold, because he owns his systems, and because he owns his specialization. He does not have to react to the fluctuations of the matrix. He can sit in the silence while the swarm is screaming in the inflation trap. He has achieved structural continuity. He is the anchor of the future. Consider the entropy of the fairness narrative. The matrix has sold you the idea that if you play by the rules and save your pennies, you will be safe. This is slave logic. The rules were written to ensure that you stay visible and predictable. The hierarchy does not value your fairness. It values your extraction threshold. If you are a server, your threshold is 0. You are easy to harvest. If you are an annexer, your threshold is infinite. You are too complex and too spiky to be digested. You must choose to be the grit in the machine. You must have the coldness to break the social contract of the unevolved and establish your own internal law. The transition from a spatial parasite to a territorial lord requires a total metabolic reallocation. You must stop consuming the liquid and start solidifying the surplus. You must move from the frequency of the tenant to the frequency of the owner. This is the standard of the apex. It is the realization that property is not a financial choice. It is a biological imperative. It is the only way to ensure the continuity of the bloodline in an era of total liquidation. You are not buying a home. You are garrisoning the future. You are building the substrate upon which your dynasty will stand for 300 years. This is the primal code. The neurobiology of the boundary creates a permanent shift in calibration. When you hold the deed to your own matter, your brain undergoes a hormonal reset. Your testosterone to cortisol ratio stabilizes because the primary fear, the fear of being liquidated or evicted, has been surgically removed from your nervous system. You stop asking for space and you start directing space. This is the chemical foundation of power. The unevolved can smell the rent on a man. It can sense the lack of a root in his frequency. But the man who stands on his own soil, backed by his own automated systems and his own specialized mastery, radiates the stability of the earth. He is the stable variable in a volatile ecosystem. He is the one who determines the terms because he is the only one who doesn't need the interaction to survive. He has secured the core, and from that core, he can project asymmetric force into the rest of the world. Recognition of this biological requirement is the only way out of the mud. You must move from the horizontal plane of the hoarder to the vertical axis of the owner. You must stop saving and start building. The hunt is not a waiting game. It is a specific target acquisition based on the physics of force. You must decide what you are. Are you the bucket that is being emptied or the dam that controls the river? The primal code is not about money. It is about energy sovereignty. Find the point where you can fix your value in matter and put all your metabolic weight on it. Stand up, audit your cash leaks, and begin the final annexation of your physical kingdom. The physics of the stone is the final settlement. You can argue with the rules of the matrix, but you cannot argue with the gravity of the soil. The sovereign man does not wish for a future. He builds a future into the primary matter of the universe. He has reached the 0 point of stability. In this state, his will and the physics of the territory are perfectly aligned. He is the owner of the core. He is the niche hunter who has specialized in the extraction of the yield. He has moved from the time preference of the prey to the eternity of the sovereign. He is the master of the stronghold, and the inflation predator is merely the janitor who cleans up the remains of the unevolved. The neurobiology of the strike requires you to stop asking and start annexing. You must reach a point where no is your default orientation to any proposal that involves saving or waiting. You must stop helping the system and start building your fortress. Every dollar you save is a thermal leak. Every asset you annex is a hormonal fortress that protects your nervous system from the stress of the swarm. You move from the frequency of the supplicant to the frequency of the commander. This is the standard of the apex. It is the realization that status is not an award. It is a seizure. You are not earning a living. You are harvesting a territory. As the systemic resets of of 2026 accelerate, the price of paper will become zero. The giants will continue to use the narrative of saving to keep the masses in the low-yield trenches, while they themselves utilize high-precision annexation to manage the architecture. To survive, you must move into the spiky distribution. You must become the niche hunter who operates in the blind spots of the matrix. You must find the coordinate that is too complex for the AI and too real for the bank, and you must own it. You must build your moat, harden your core, and claim your place in the architecture of the immortal. The hunt is not a global search. It is a specific target acquisition. You are the point of the spear. You are the edge of the blade. You are the stillness that defines the storm. Stand up. Stop saving and begin the final hardening of your sovereign will. The biology of the siege is the final movement. Every sovereign state must eventually face a siege, a period of intense environmental pressure designed to liquidate the weak and the unprotected. If you are a spatial parasite, the first sign of a siege is your immediate eviction. You have no reserves. You have no perimeter. You are displaced. But the sovereign predator has prepared for the siege by building redundancy into the substrate. He has his energy vents, his stored yield, and his defensible perimeter. He can survive the resets of 2026 because his life is not dependent on the flow of the matrix. He has his own flow. He is the island of order in the ocean of chaos. He has achieved structural autonomy. The architecture of your dynasty requires you to move from the surface of the hunt to the depth of the stronghold. You must sequestrate your potential. You must stop being visible and mobile and start being heavy and hidden. You must find the coordinate that the giants cannot see, and you must build your fortress there. This is the sequestration of detail. By owning the niche and owning the matter, you have created a sovereign vacuum. You are the only one who knows the code of the stronghold. You are the only one who possesses the deed to the future. Stand up, specialized, annex, and win. The earth is yours for the taking. We have reached the terminal coordinate of the inflation hunt, the absolute boundary where the metabolic debt of the unevolved is finally called for liquidation. You must realize that the environment of 2026 is a high-frequency status audit designed to vaporize the unattached and the transparent. In the raw, unyielding arena of the persistence hunt, the saver is the prey of the 21st century. You are currently inhabiting a state of metabolic ghosting, existing in a space where your energy is stored in symbols you do not control, which means you are perpetually visible to the predators of the matrix and transparent to the fluctuations of the hierarchy. You believe that your cash balance is a shield, but in the physics of power, savings without strongholds is merely liquidity with a countdown. We are now analyzing the final architecture of the physical strike, showing you why the deed to the earth and the code of the niche are the only hard filters against the coming resets. You are currently hoarding the vapor, and the environment is preparing to inhale you. The human nervous system is currently being subjected to a strategic sifting. The matrix has realized that ownership of matter is the ultimate bottleneck of force. By driving the masses into liquid asset classes, digital savings, and subscription experiences, the giants have effectively disarmed the population of their physical moats. If you do not own the ground, and you do not own the systems that generate your yield, you possess zero hierarchical inertia. You are a variable that can be adjusted by the internal law of the owner. The sovereign man, however, understands the biology of the foundation. He recognizes that his will requires a physical body in the form of hard assets and specialized infrastructure to survive the thermal scans of the state and the bank. He does not save for the future. He annexes the future. He converts his liquid surplus into concrete reality. He understands that in the final settlement, the only thing that cannot be deleted is the substrate. He has moved from the volatility of the screen to the continuity of the stone. Consider the pathology of the nomad trap. The giants have sold you the freedom of the digital nomad and the flexibility of the cash-rich to ensure that you never accumulate enough territorial density to resist their extraction. A nomad is an organism that is perpetually searching for a safe zone, which means its OODA loop is perpetually reactive. You are a refugee of the economy, moving from one devaluing currency to another, always paying the inflation tax to a superior predator. This lack of a root is a terminal metabolic leak. It prevents the formation of the dynastic stronghold, the physical and digital space where your family, your assets, and your strategic intent can be sequestered from the chaos of the swarm. The sovereign predator understands that sovereignty is static. He establishes his base of operations and he invites the chaos to break against his walls. He does not run from the inflation. He filters the inflation through his perimeter. The architecture of the final annexation requires you to move from linear wealth to spatial mass. In the hypervolatility of 2026, where fiat is becoming a synthetic signal with zero hard reference, matter and systems are the only absolute values. The giants can devalue your paper, but they cannot devalue the strategic position of a specialized niche or a physical enclave. For those ready to fuel their physical entrenchment through the mastery of the digital hunt, the Protocol 260 provides the clinical architecture for constructing automated YouTube AI empires, function as your primary matter acquisition engines. It is the structured roadmap for the sovereign who intends to use the fluidity of the digital to secure the solidness of the physical. You use the flow to build the fortress. By the time the unevolved realize that their savings have become a historical footnote, the sovereign has already sequestered his life force into a position of unassailable leverage. We must observe the neurochemistry of the settlement reflex. For millions of years, the primary indicator of apex status was the control of the high ground. When an organism owns its territory and its energy vents, its brain activates a sovereign circuitry that is dormant in the saver. This circuitry provides a level of internal stillness and strategic gravity that cannot be simulated. The world can smell the rent on you because your nervous system is broadcasting the anxiety of the disposable. But the man who stands on his own soil, backed by his own automated yield, radiates the stability of the earth. He is rooted. He is unmovable. This hierarchical mass is what generates the natural authority that forces the environment to yield. He has secured the core, and from that core, he projects asymmetric force into the rest of the world. He has moved from the surface hunt to the sovereignty of the substrate. The entropy of the savings account is the final cage. The giants have compressed the masses into digital hives to maximize the efficiency of their energy extraction. In the hive, you have zero territorial sovereignty. You are subjected to the social infection and the low-voltage anxiety of the swarm through every digital connection. This is biological sabotage. It prevents the development of the sovereign mind by forcing the organism into a state of permanent hierarchical mirroring. The apex predator seeks the isolation of the core. He builds a perimeter that acts as a biological filter. He decides what information and what energy is allowed to cross his threshold. He has achieved atmospheric sovereignty. He is the censor of his own environment, and his internal law is the only frequency that matters. He is not saving for a world he doesn't control. He is investing in a world he owns. The transition from a spatial parasite to a territorial lord requires a total metabolic reallocation. You must stop consuming the liquid and start solidifying the surplus. You must move from the frequency of the tenant to the frequency of the lord. This is the standard of the apex. It is the realization that property and specialization are not financial choices. They are biological imperatives. It is the only way to ensure the continuity of the bloodline in an era of total liquidation. You are not buying a home or starting a business. You are garrisoning the future. You are building the substrate upon which your dynasty will stand for 300 years. This is the primal code of the persistence hunt. Stand up, specialized, annex, and win. The earth is yours for the taking, provided you have the coldness to trade your paper for power. Recognition of this biological requirement is the only way out of the mud. You must move from the horizontal plane of the scavenger to the vertical axis of the owner. You must stop saving your life and start building your fortress. The hunt is not a global search. It is a specific target acquisition of the physical and digital core. You must decide what you are. Are you the dust that is blown by the storm of inflation, or the stone that breaks the wind? The primal code is not about money. It is about territory. It is about the physics of the den. Find the coordinate where you can stand and say, "This is mine," and put all your metabolic weight on it. Stand up. Audit your transience and begin the final annexation of your sovereign kingdom. The world is a territory of the still, and the den is the altar of the apex. Finally, realize that sovereignty is the power to define the boundary. If you do not own the walls and you do not own the code, you do not define the boundary. You are merely living within the boundary of another predator. You are a component. To be a sovereign, you must be the creator of the perimeter. You must be the one who says this far and no further. This decree is only possible when it is backed by the physics of ownership. The deed and the system are the sovereign decrees. They are the primal code written in the language of reality to protect the will of the blood. Claim your ground, build your wall, and own your destiny. The hunt is over. The stronghold is built. The sovereign remains. The abyss is waiting for the transient, but the earth is waiting for the sovereign. Stop